Hello you, today I'm showing you some thrifted books I got. In the last vlog, you've probably seen me hunting for second-hand books. Well, I got my hands on some gems, and today I'm gonna be sharing with you my finds, so let's get to it. First, I've spotted this Oscar Wilde tote bag by Paperblanks, and I loved it. This brand is one of my favorite stationery brands. All my daily notebooks have been Paperblanks for the last 5 years now. I love how their covers mimic famous works of art. This is my current one. The original cover was Shakespeare's first Folio cover. They also make great artworks as bookmarks, and I got this one that represents the center part of the famous painting The Creation of Adam by Michelangelo. I love this painting, and at the back we can see Michelangelo's own handwriting, which is also special. This one I actually got as a gift, so I won't be keeping it. Another notebook I got is this one that features the French author Proust. It's so crafty and looks beautiful. I already have the Jules Verne one and I can't get myself to write on it. When I visited the Mont Blanc store, they gave me these 3 postcards. I think I'm gonna be using them as bookmarks. Those are the only stationery I got. Now onto the books. First, I got this one called La Dame de Kiev by Sylvie Dervin or Dervin. I've never heard of her before, but when I opened the book, I saw that someone had actually taken time to print out or maybe cut out pictures from another edition to stick them on the book. I mean, to have that level of dedication, you must have really liked the book. So yeah, I guess thank you stranger whoever you are for doing that, it made the book even more special. Basically, this book, La Dame de Kiev or The Lady of Kiev, tells the story of Nastasia, born into nobility in Kiev. She lives a privileged life and has a lover who's her teacher's son. However, when she was 17 years old, the Russian Revolution erupts, bringing horrors and upheavals into her life. As Nastasia faces these challenges, she ends up in Paris, where she becomes a movie star. Her journey takes her across Hollywood, Mexico, and back to France, encountering many influential and significant men along the way. Despite these relationships, and with the story spanning from the Tsarist Russia to Hollywood, she becomes a beloved and rebellious figure who helps the less fortunate. So, we're following a woman. She is a movie star, she is glamorous, she is resilient, she loses everything but still rises to stardom. She navigates complex relationships with different men while facing historical and personal challenges? Wait, is that Evelyn Hugo? Joking aside, this book really gave me the same vibes as The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. And might I add that the author was actually a screenwriter, so she did work closely in the film industry, much like Taylor Jenkins Reid as well. I just find it funny that 2 books, one published in 2017 and the other in 1986, can be that similar. But I'll have to read this one to say for sure. Next, and this is in no particular order, we have Mrs. Dalloway by Virginia Woolf in the Oxford Words Classics edition. I do like to read in this edition. I've started the audiobook of Mrs. Dalloway, and I couldn't stick to it much. I remember thinking that I would probably enjoy it more if I read it instead of listen to it. So when I saw this second-hand edition, I grabbed it. These books events take place in a single day, where we follow Mrs. Dalloway as she explores both the past and the potential future during a time where the memories of the First World War are still strongly present. It explores themes of time, freedom of mind, abuse of power, and the force of love. I think the person who had this book before me stopped reading at page 2. I see annotations on the first 2 pages, but none on the rest of the book. I hope I'm not as disappointed in it as my fellow reader. Then I also got Daphne du Maurier's Rebecca. This will be my first Daphne du Maurier. I've read so many good things about her writing, and specifically about Rebecca. I know it's a favorite among many readers, so I'm excited to get to it. It's about a woman who marries a widower and is haunted by the shadows of his past wife Rebecca. It explores themes of memory and past, love and jealousy, class and social status, isolation and alienation, all under a gothic setting of mystery and suspense. Now this is an interesting one. I've also never seen it before. It has like 61 reviews on Goodreads. And I actually want you to guess what it is about. I'm hiding some clues with washi tape. And I really want to play this game, because when I grabbed it at the bookstore, I could not have guessed it if I hadn't read the blurb and looked at the cover twice. So please tell me down below, have you seen this book before? And if not, can you guess what it is about? I'll give you 2 seconds. You can pause the video if you want. This book called The French Dancer's Bastard is about Adele, Mr. Rochester's child he had with a French ballet dancer, the pupil of Jane Eyre in Jane Eyre. I'm very curious about this book, but I'm also scared because I know it's hard to walk in Charlotte Bronte's shoes. So I might actually read it as a separate story instead of as an extension of Jane Eyre. But yeah, I'm curious. We'll see what I think about it. Rosa Candida by Auður Eva Ólafsdóttir, or The Greenhouse in English. Auður is an Icelandic author, and I think this book explores themes of loss. The protagonist, Arnljótur, also nicknamed Lobby, loses his mother in a car accident, which propels him to travel to a remote village monastery to restore its once fabulous gardens. He starts his journey with 3 Rosa Candida cuttings in his luggage, a plant he and his mother both loved. I think plant lovers would enjoy reading this one, and I hope to read it this summer. Up next is Things Fall Apart by the Nigerian author Chinua Achebe. Yes, the cover is a mess. But it's okay, we don't care about that. It's gonna get destroyed as soon as I start reading it anyway. The important thing is that the text is intact. The story sounds interesting. It's about Okonkwo, a very important man in his tribe who faces the arrivals of colonizers on his land. I'm hopeful for this one, and I see that there is quite the hype going on around it, and it does remind me of the excitement around Season of Migration to the North, as they both touch on the impacts of colonialism on African societies. Spoiler alert, I barely gave Season of Migration to the North 1 star, and I do hope to find in Things Fall Apart what I could not find in Season of Migration to the North. Next, I have a gossipy one. I believe we should be served straws with it, as it will be juicy. It's The King's Way by Françoise Chandernagor. I got the French original version, published in 1981, with the very French title L'Allée du Roi. This book tells the story of Madame de Maintenon, the second wife of King Louis XIV of France, also known as Le Roi Soleil. It provides a detailed and richly described account of life at the court of Versailles. It is well researched apparently, so it's as close to the reality as we can get. I love that I found an edition that was printed the same year as the original release, just 1 month after the first publishing date. And I love it even more that someone with a very Germanic sounding name gifted it to someone else in the same year. Another one I found is this non-fiction one, called Hidden Champions of the 21st Century by Hermann Simon. It's about medium-sized unknown companies that have quietly under the radar become world market leaders in their respective industries. And yeah, I want to know about medium-sized unknown companies that have quietly under the radar become world market leaders in their respective industries. So I got it to add it to my collection of economically inclined non-fiction books. This specific edition looks like it belonged to someone who was not only interested in economy, but also in arts and fashion design. Next is this pocket edition of The Phantom of the Opera, a classic mystery book by Gaston Leroux. This photo is beautiful. It's from the 2004 movie. This book is about a mysterious figure known as the Phantom, who haunts the Paris Opera House. He's a disfigured musical genius, and he falls in love with the beautiful young singer Christine. The story weaves themes of love, obsession, and the supernatural, set against the backdrop of the opulent and eerie opera house. Intriguing vibes. Check this out. I found in it a receipt from a brewery called the Goblins Brewery, dating back to 1991. I wasn't even born. I also found in it a cutout of a Roman relief called Gradiva. I mean, go Google it, I learned so much that I didn't know before. Before showing you the next one, let me tell you this about me. I love me some Greek retellings, especially if it's about Troy. I eat it up. I think my love for it started with the movie Troy, I remember watching it as a teenager and completely being mesmerized by it. Hector and Achilles' fight? Love it. The scene where Hector tumbles on a stone and falls, and the iconic line,
"Get up. Won't let a stone take my glory."
Epic. So yes, if it's about Troy, I want to read it. Luckily, I live in a day and age where there is an abundance of Greek retellings. It feels like everyone and their mom is writing a Greek retelling. But there is a small thing that has started to bother me the more I read these retellings, and that is that many of them seem to be heavily influenced by themes of female empowerment and feminism, aiming to give women their voices back. We have all these new interpretations of Medusa, Briseis, Helen, Hecuba, Penelope, Clytemnestra, Persephone that claim to reveal their true stories. This approach sounds appealing, but it's getting overwhelming when it seems to become the primary focus of these books. Growing up, I always saw these women as inherently strong figures. I spent my teenage years reading numerous articles and papers and watching documentaries about Troy and Homeric stories, and never once did I perceive Homeric women as oppressed or weak or in need of someone to defend them and tell their story. I do want to know more about their daily lives as women, yes, so I initially embraced these retellings. However, the more I read them, the more I feel it's unnecessary to drape them in this female rage narrative. Take for example this line from the synopsis of a French retelling called L'Odyssée des Femmes by Muriel Sack.
Unjustly forgotten, the women of Greek mythology are incandescent. Penelope is not the silly and unfaithful wife she has often been portrayed as.
Whoever said that? I never thought of Penelope as unfaithful. She's literally a symbol of marital fidelity. It's a bit frustrating. While I appreciate the effort to explore these women's stories more deeply, I sometimes feel that the focus on feminist themes can overshadow these women's intrinsic strengths that have always been there. I'm sorry for this rant, all this to say that I got yet another retelling, and this one is for middle grade, so maybe it will be more focused on storytelling. It's Tom 2 of a trilogy, so I'll try to get Tom 1 on my Kindle and read them both. That was Survivors of Troy by Michelle Honaker. Unfortunately, I couldn't find any English translation. And the last book I got from the library is this one. I'm afraid that it's also not available in English. It's from the collection of Nobel Prize in Literature, which prints selected novellas from Nobel Prize winners. Inside is the Norwegian author Sigrid Undset novella, Vaaren, translated into French as Printemps. I simply love the themes she explored in this book. Love, nature, hope, and renewal. The story focuses on the growth of the main character Rose and her newly found voice centered around home. It also delves into the lives of individuals connected to this home who have left it and are trying to find their place in the world, highlighting the transformative power of inner growth and social bonds. So yes, Printemps by Sigrid Undset. Really wanna get to it one day. Those were all the books I got from the library. I wanted to also haul books I got in the book convention I went to in my last vlog, but this video is getting ridiculously long, so I'll save them for another video. Thank you for watching, I'll see you in the next one. Au revoir.